yeah, I can just delete it because it's all right on the YouTube. But the euro is insane at the moment. Like, what the hell? It's just that hurts a little bit. But it doesn't really, because at the end of the day, it's just because I've locked into this perspective and I kind of want my first little hit. That's it. And I've got to be careful, because because I'm now in this perspective where I do where it is pretty, where most of the time I do know what's gonna, what should occur, but I can't be sure whether what should occur is going to. But most of the time I do have a good understanding as to what is likely to unfold, and usually does. I'm pretty sure I did also write around this area, euro should short from here. What I mean by that is, basically, market participants are likely to trade in the particular fashion that facilitates lower movement, but I don't like referring to things like that anymore. Although that is the fact, I like to just keep it very simple and focus on most recent bar close analysis, seeing how the most recent bar closed the way it did amongst the region of whatever pushes in play, and building a contextual narrative, basically comprised of how many different time frame recent bar closes have closed the way they have amongst their region of whatever pushes in play, and building a narrative of, for example, of what contextual position the market is sat at universally, like relative to the daily, how the recent bar closes closed the way however it has, amongst the region of the daily push and then the 12, and building the narrative of what's likely to occur, you know, and it gives you a really clear perspective. Like, you can't just look at, for example, this most recent 15M bar close and be like, okay, you know what should occur. I mean, first of all, just to say, I mean, it just closed with a decent wick rejection to the upside, decent range expansion with a slight wick rejection at the very low overextended region of this push to the downside. But it's irrelevant, that, because it's like, I mean, it's just one time frame. You kind of got no understanding. I mean, like here, you got short-term pushes in play. This bar closes a heavy close right at its lows, at the very low overextended region of this short-term push to the downside, right? Because it closed right at its very lows, and this push closed right at the very lows of its push to the downside. But because it closed right at its lows, it's likely to just further expand lower, which it did. But it's like, I mean, you would get you can just know you don't use one time frame. I don't anyway. So unless you've got a specific thing where like you buy above the high or something, but like no wonder that doesn't have as high of a strike rate, because it's just, I don't know, it's just like, you want all time frames in sync. But anyway, a bit of ramble and anger expressed. I guess I can just leave those lines on. That's just delineating some price action to the left, which, yeah, see, we're at very high prices right now. Extremely high, in fact. What the hell? I haven't traded the market at this price region since I've been profitable. So, like, this is completely new territory that, for me to be profitable at, basically. Like, I've been profitable, bloody hell, since about the mid-July is when I started to become profitable. And I've been profitable since. The only time I've had to lose a month is November, and it should have been actually +3 month. You might be thinking, well, yeah, everyone says that, but, like, I mean, and then they also say, but I don't operate around a distort perspective. Like, I mean, it should have been a +3% month, but anyway, like I said, it didn't, and it was a -1. But anyway, I'm back in that perspective of when I was in the June and stuff, and I was analysing all this market, and like, and I remember how like clear of a perspective I had, and I mean, I was on like a 18 win streak or something of wins, and yeah, I never had anything like that before, and I'm pretty sure it was October that was my best month ever. But anyway, yes, we did also miss a trade yesterday, but if I just stop rambling and go on the breakdown of today, so you see that the most recent 4-day bar close kind of at its high region with a slight wick rejection at the very high overextended region of its push to the upside. my phone is going to run out, and I'm just going to turn it off, because after this, I need to go somewhere real quick. But, yeah, anyway, so it's kind of hard to say, really. I mean, it has a heavy range expansion bar at the upside with a slight wick rejection, like I said, at the very high overextended region, of which you would want to basically investigate into lower time frames. And basically, from this, all you could really say is that further wick rejections are likely to occur, but, you know, like, possibly some slight further upside could occur, but it's quite iffy, to be honest, to get a read, really. So here you kind of just go up, you're at the overextended region, wick rejection at the very highs. The daily, you see things a bit better, you see a short-term push downside, push higher, wick rejection right at the very high region, suggesting that like there could be some room to pull lower. The 12-hour recent bar close. I mean, also, like, I mean, I'm not going to use it as an excuse, but, like, the markets have been absolutely, like, they have just been, like, so different, because Trump and shit, what's been going on, all the tariffs. But, like, I don't want to sound like some smart-eyed here, because I don't read into any of it. I just look at the way, like I said, the most recent bar closes however it does amongst the region of whatever pushes in play. That I look at how the most recent bar closed the way it did while sat amongst. Anyway, here you see that the most recent 12-hour bar closed with a slight decent wick rejection at the very high overextended region of the short-term push to the upside what I've unfolded, which was very overextended. Wick rejection at the very high, it's likely to somewhat pull lower a bit. The 9-hour, I don't think it was that bar. Yeah, was it this? Yeah. So the 9-hour had a pretty nice, strong wick rejection at the very highs of an overextended push to the upside. But this, you would definitely still want to investigate it. But still, this is likely to pull lower, defo. 8-hour, you see the same kind of thing. You just, most recent bar closed at the very high overextended region of the push and play to the upside, wick rejecting at the very high region of. It's likely to, I mean, it is likely to just reverse soon and retrace lower, just based on this wick rejection at the very highs, so likely pull lower. Probably going to get some lunch actually first. I don't know what to have though. Just have some chickpeas and olives. I don't know. 4-hour. So obviously the main time frame to look out on this is the 3. But anyway, you see, I mean, you kind of had a wick rejection, you come lower. Well, probably came like this. Nah, to be honest, this is just over. This is just one straight push. So you're just kind of chilling at the overextended high region of a push that's topping out and wick rejecting at the very high region of, you know, and then this bar closes basically slight, almost doji, wick rejecting the very highs. Still up this push to the upside that's already begun to wick reject at the very high region of, signaling that, yeah, like a reversal is coming and it is likely to probably start to move lower. Anyway, the 3-hour, you got a pretty strong close at the overextended region of short-term push to the upside, which wick rejected quite nicely. It came lower, wick rejected at the highs, and then closes a bearish close right at the high overextended region. It is likely to push lower, but this wick rejection, again, just a GU, needed to be investigated. The 2-hour closes a nice wick rejection at the very highs of its short-term push to the upside, signaling a reversal is likely to emerge, whether that be another wick reject and then sudden reversal, or just basically take hold. Maybe it's a slight wick reject to the upside and then push lower, or maybe a push higher and then another wick rejection and then edging closer towards the reversal. So it does look good for a reversal to be close to occurring, or just occur. And the 1-hour, you see the same kind of thing as GU. So you got this push to the upside, push lower, push higher, and push lower. And the most recent bar close is sat at the very low region of this push to the downside, wick rejecting at the very low region of. So, and you know, you wick rejecting at the very low extended region of a push to the downside. It's signaling that, yeah, a reversal is likely to possibly emerge from this region and gravitate higher. So what you would want to see is you'd want to see a nice 1 hour bar close from the OTR region off the appropriate fib pole, and that's obviously too much of a strong close. Basically closed at ties, basically just no wick rejection at all, really worthy of note saying anything about. And then anyway, you get this, you get a strong wick rejection at the very highs, which, like I said to you, in proportion to the body, it is a strong wick rejection. With this most recent bar closing at the very high over extended region, wick rejection at the very high, signaling that a reversal is likely to be nearing to take hold. And this would be worthy enough to then drop down to the 15M and then look for a nice bar close, because an ISLQS would have already formed because you're above Asia High and you'll also be above Frankfurt. So you drop down. I was getting pretty excited here, to be honest, because this was like prime old school times of like. I just remember how it was. You'd get like it was just pretty awesome, to be honest. It just is. But anyway, this was the most recent bar close that closed at the 1 hour close. And anyway, you can see it had a nice wick rejection to the upside, but then didn't close bearish. And all you would need is just you just needed it to close a doji or bearish. And if it closed bearish, especially with the context of how this bar, of how other recent bars started to close at the region of the push that was in play, wick rejection starting to occur, and then this being a further one, and then if this closed bearish as a strong close with this, oh my goodness, this would be very good. It's still okay, but still, you just don't get positioned on this. But anyway, yeah, so you didn't, so you needed to wait for another bar close, and anyway, this bar close with a decent wick rejection to the downside at the low region of, it's pushed to the downside, wick rejection at the very low region of, it could easily push higher. And anyway, that's not what happened, and so you are done. But there we go, you did also get that nice bar close here, which is a bit odd because I have been noticing that it tends to confirm a bit after, which has happened a lot recently. Even out of the old perspective, which I still managed to be profitable, and I was still doing a similar thing, but just not as clear. And so I was missing trades, but I was getting in high probability trades, but it's like the trades that I was getting in were, they were high probable, but it took a bit of doing, to come to the perspective, and really all you're doing is just assessing how the most recent bar closed however way it did, or however way it did, however it did in whatever fashion / amongst the region of whatever pushes in play, that the most recent bar closed however it did. So if this was on the daily, and you're at an overextended high region of a push that's already began wick rejecting, and you got further wick rejection at the very highs, it's likely that a reversal is going to take hold soon over the next couple of bars. So then if other time frames are set up like that too, well then let's see how the 1 hour set up, and then the 2 and the 4, and then basically look for a setup accordingly. If it's kind of wick rejecting at the lows, but it's kind of showing some bearish signs on the 8, and the 9 in this case, then, and it looks good to look for a setup bearish, you might have a 2 hour bar close, like today, literally today, you had the 2 hour closing like this, but then the 1 hour's kind of, it slows, wick rejecting the very low extended region, it's likely to pull up, and then you just look for a setup accordingly, just like this. And this is exactly the analysis that I was conducting not so long ago, around the June-ish time, and 1-to-1, it was pretty darn high probable that I'd get it. But what's also irritating is we did miss a trade yesterday, that I realised, which is very annoying, but to be honest, I kind of didn't miss it, because... What the hell? Oh. Because you couldn't get a 1-to-1 to the highs, right? But, so technically speaking, I didn't miss it. But, I mean, I don't know. I think it was the 8. Yeah, it was 8 o'clock that it confirmed. So if I just put this to that, this, oops. I don't know actually, because like, I mean, you're closing here, you're under circumstances where you are likely to. I know it ran up that much. To be honest, yeah, you probably could have just took this. Yeah, but I mean, you know, you're closed relatively into the playable range, so it's like, okay, yeah, it's like a strong bullish bar close formed, and then it's like, um, if it closes into the range and the direction is likely to play out, well then, and it's like, it's like if it is going to play out, just give a bit enough room for it to do so. So to be honest, this probably would have been actually valid because it's just above the high. Even if it came above to about here, this would probably still be valid. But of course, if you couldn't get a 1-to-1 till it was like up here, then yeah, maybe that's a bit pushing it. But it's like, that would be okay, to be honest. But anyway, for some reason didn't see it, and it was a bit irritating, to be honest. But anyway, it is what it is. I guess I can do. No, I'm not going to actually. I'm going to eat and then I'll sign off and just do research on FX replay. I think this is enough blabber for today. So yeah, and this is just a weekly high and low, and obviously the payable is the monthly. So yeah, it is what it is. About yesterday and today, yeah, we're done today perfectly. So that's good. And anyway, yeah, I mean, it took a bit of time to get used to. So, of like analyzing everything, like and getting back into the rhythm of, like, for example, just literally looking at how the most recent bar closed in whatever way slash fashion it did amongst the region of what push is in play, that the most recent bar closed in whatever way slash however way it did amongst, and see how it closed the way it did. It closed like a bullish, decent, just standard bullish close at the lows of a push, like yesterday on the 8 hour, which had already been wick rejecting at the very low region of, and then a bullish bar close formed at this region. You know, it's likely, like, it's just going to further wick reject at this region, or just wick reject and play out as a reversal, which the 12 hour was also wick rejecting at the very lows of, suggesting a reversal with the 8 hour setup as that. I just don't know how I didn't see that. And instead, I was looking for fucking shorts, which was just so retarded, actually. But anyway, you gotta kind of make some mistakes first before you then learn. And I mean, I am on prop firms, so I mean, it doesn't really matter, but still, you know, and I mean, you can kind of get funded pretty quick if you've got a system such as I do. So, yeah, we'll be okay in the long run for sure. But we've just got to always remember to because we don't stop. We don't stop. Like, whenever we run into an issue, we'll get it done. We'll get it solved. And we, like, because we don't stop. Like, that's how I got back to this concludeless, like, mindset of really just looking at, like, for example, what way the most recent 12-hour bar closed in whatever way it did amongst the region of whatever pushes in play prior to the bar that encapsulates the given day's time period on the 12 hour, seeing how it closed the way it did amongst that region, and then seeing how the all the other time frame recent bar closes closed the way they did amongst at the regions of whatever pushes in play relative to those time frames, and seeing how, like, for example, the 4 hours likely to react or move. Like, is it likely to react, meaning like rejections at the lows, and it's likely to react higher, or is it closed right at the low region of an overextend and pushing the downside, but the region bar closed right at its lows, meaning it's likely to further continue to extend lower. It's like, it's simply just looking at the recent bar close. It's recent bar close analysis, man. It's fucking simple. And then you pair all the time frames together and you form that narrative, and then, mate, you really are golden, and you get a lot of setups. I mean, look at the September. That's or October. That's all on my YouTube, and I made 12%, and I got funded 50k. Um, so, um, yeah, it's like we will do that again, and it's still early on in this month, in this year. Sorry. Um. So yeah, but like I was going on about too, like when you're looking for the market to set up in a certain way, like for example, here what like we did kind of want to see a retrace here. It's like the reason why I'm not maybe is looking for a setup to get on board with this, which I don't really know how I could. I mean, you, I really don't know. I don't think I'm equipped at that level yet. I really don't know it because I mean I remember being out of this perspective once. Well, like me, if you're looking for the 1 hour setup and it's likely to push here, and then from this region you're then looking to start to look for a 1 hour bar close. Why wouldn't you just look for a setup to get on board this, and then maybe just look for like from 7, uh, like the 15 M push to start to like arc out, but then it's like that might take up all your mental capital and basically fuck you up. So, because I mean, if you look at this right, you know, if for example you're seeing the 1 hour like wick rejecting at the very lows, and I don't know, I think it's best to just stick to the plan really and not really because like this is just it feels desperate. So like this right here, you got a wick rejection at the lows and wick rejection and bullish bar close right at the lows right, but I mean, ordinarily, right, if this was standard strategy and this was all formed in the right circumstances, this would be a buy. So why wouldn't you just buy here? You know? So it just doesn't make sense. And then when like the 8 hours also wick rejecting at this region and the 3 hour highs also closed like bearish, wick rejecting also at the highs of a push that's already began wick rejecting at the overextended region. Like yes, it's got that wick reject to the downside, but it's like it could still easily just pummel lower and then you'll get raped, and then I don't know. It just doesn't seem feasible. Like, I mean, I really don't know, cause like, I mean, like push lower, wick reject, here push higher, wick reject. Just you could maybe look for like a market structure shift, but then like, I mean, uh, I don't know. I really don't know, cause like, I mean, you could maybe look for some sort of thing like that, possibly where like you look for like a 5M structure shift, but then again, it's like here wick reject, come lower, wick reject at the lows, so short term push the downside, come higher, wick reject, you know, then you come higher, wick reject at the lows, push higher, wick reject, that follows with a retracement. And also this, you have to consider the context of where this is unfolding, right? This is unfolding at the overextended high region of a push to the upside. This is the 5 minute we're talking about too. And then anyway, wick reject comes lower, wick reject a bit iffy, wick reject likely to continue higher, and then you get that market structure shift, and then, I mean, the only thing that I could kind of think of doing is just then waiting for a 5M bar, like a 5M strong close, to then get involved. But honestly, like, but you see how much this mental capital kind of takes up when really, if you just look for a direction on side to the higher time frame narrative, which this is going completely against. Um, Number one, you're spending a lot less mental capital, and also, I mean, who's fucking complaining about 4, 5, 6, 12 even% a month? With just looking for quality setups, which you are always locked in. You're not swaying away from everything, and you're just content. You're content. Yeah, yeah, okay. There's nothing wrong with wanting more, but I mean, I honestly think this is going a bit too far, because I mean if you like I don't know I really don't know because I mean if we go on this day, what we were looking for yesterday, what we're looking for a retrace and then nice 1 hour bar close, right? So that would mean so well, I don't know because like I mean technically speaking this isn't really even a strong close because it's got too much of a weight rejection to the downside, so you'd be in here and then where you're going to put your stop, and then you get fucking like, see, just know. I remember being in this perspective once before when I first started to really get locked in and click with this higher time frame thing, where like you've been aware of how recent bar closes are closing the way they are amongst the region of whatever pushes in play relative to all time frames from higher time frames and down, and what way the market is likely to react relative to each time frame's recent bar close style amongst the region of whatever pushes in play, and then looking for a setup based on the 1 hour on the back of that. Yes, the 1 hour is likely to push higher, but it's like you aren't bothered because it's like the market's still in a region where it could just easily keep pushing lower, and it's like, imagine how shit it would be. You get like it just no. It's just not happening. Yes, it worked today, but it's just like nah, just no. It's not worthy. It's not worth it. It's best just to stick to the plan, and well, you can look at the YouTube of how that went with doing that. But yeah, I did have a bit of a lull, I must say, which ran from about, like, it started from the November, December picked up 4%, January was about 4%, February was about 3 or something, March was 2, it was just one win, and April so far we are flat. So, but we should be up a bit more. I think we should be up a couple of percent or something. But we only had this re-locking in perspective, which we're only just starting to get dialed in with recently. So yeah, but anyway, yeah, no, this is the thing too with me. Like, I'm like, I love reading and analyzing the markets, right? But it's like you also want to keep the balance of that too. You don't want to, like, yeah, you get the gist. Even though it looks sexy to get in here and then ride it up to here and then look for your 1 hour bar close, it's just like, long term it's not feasible. And this is a prime example. You were looking for the 1 hour retrace, right? So then if you look for a setup, right, because you always want to look for setup on anything, and then you look for that 5M shift and then strong bar close, and then you enter, and then you just fucking hope for the best. It's just like, no, because you're going against the high temper. I mean, you're literally shorting at a low region of a push, which was wick rejected and lightly pull higher. It's just like, no. Wait for the 1 hour setup according to however it must do so, and then look for a setup on board with that. That's it. Nothing else.